right, Booger McFarland joining the show. We had to bring Boog in for this for sure. Boog, D tackles consistently on the wrong end of the tush push. So you like the idea of banning it?
No, I don't. And I get it.
Oh.
I truly understand what everybody's saying, but there's been no data that's come out and said that this play is dangerous from a health and safety standpoint. So why are we getting rid of it? Because most of the NFL can't stop it? Okay, go out, practice it, get better. Like, the play's open to everybody. If you can't stop it, why don't you implement it yourself on your team? So I think this is a legal play. This is a good play. For those who are crying, get rid of it. I got one thing to say to you. Get better at it, defend it. If you can't defend it, then maybe you should try doing it yourself. I love what Philadelphia does because they have a huge offensive line. These guys are 6'5", 6'6", 320, 350 pounds, and they're using what they have to their advantage. And so for every coach out there, shame on you for wanting to get rid of a play that's been successful just because you can't stop it.
Yeah, it's a legal play because the NFL said it's legal. They just decided to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's okay if you guys wedge together and somebody gets behind your quarterback and just decides to push him. And yeah, I mean, they said it's legal because it is legal. I mean, because the NFL can say whatever the heck they want is legal. Yeah, I do agree that there's probably just a lot of there's a lot of frustration that people can't stop Philadelphia in particular with this play. And two, they can't seem to replicate, the success that Philadelphia has with it. And three, I think aesthetically, probably traditionalists think, you know what, you shouldn't be able to get behind someone and just push them forward and, make it look like it's some kind of rugby scrum instead of like trying to advance the ball in traditional ways as far as running the football. I think people just kind of they almost get off my lawn-ish in terms of saying, hey, look, I just don't like this because this doesn't look like everything else that we do, so let's just throw this thing out of here. As far as the health and safety concern with it, look, I can think of like a bunch of other things that they could probably ban and throw out in the name of health and safety than the tush push. Quite honestly, it may not be comfortable for you underneath there, but I think there's a bunch of other things. If you want to kind of go die on a hill, you can die on a different hill as far as health and safety. That one I'm not necessarily buying.
Man, I wish he listed some of those other plays that he thinks that were technically leading to more injuries. Because that's such a great point. Where it's just like, if you want to play the injury card here, if that's the angle that you want to take, there's undeniably more dangerous plays that will lead to more injuries. And so let's just say, out of all the plays, let's say there's 32 types of plays that 32 different, and again, this is made up, 32 different types of plays that in that on the football field that take place can lead to an injury. If the tush push is anything less, it is anything that's not 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, like, and you're focusing, well, we got to move this for the injury, because of injuries, like, it fundamentally makes no sense because you're not even getting after the main stuff that is actually causing injuries. That's why they did these new kickoff rules and all those types of stuff, because they're saying this is where most of the concussions happen. This is where a lot of these injuries happen in general. So we have to minimize that. Like, it wouldn't make sense to skip over that to worry about something else. Like, it fundamentally does not make any sense. As well, in terms of kind of the the aesthetics of it, I still find it so fascinating that people try to push back on the aesthetics of this. Like, I really don't get it. And I've already talked about banning the tush push a lot because absurdly they talked about it during the Super Bowl week, right? Like, that's what we're talking about during the Super Bowl. It was about should we ban the tush push, which was just insane, and I just totally went off on that. And now that it's actually been officially kind of proposed by the Packers, then I did the first things first clip and stuff like that. But I really wanted to do this because we got two new guys here, people that actually have played, rather than someone like a Nick Wright or Brew. And no disrespect to them, it's not like it. I'm not one of those purists that says like you have to play to in the NFL to know everything. But it's just when you have people sharing opinions about something like this, if you're going to take an analytical view, a more scientific, a more I'm on the outside looking in view, well, then you better be accurate with what you're saying. And if you're going to talk about injury risk, because you're right, people like this, they're not experts on injuries. Not at all. In fact, many football players, if they still had their way, they probably would still want some of a more old school football. And it's like, you know what? You don't really know exactly what's best for you. You don't know how to look at the data. You don't really even understand how to assess what this really looks like, because you're 22 years old right now in the NFL, and, you know, let's leave it to the 45, 55-year-olds who have been there, who have done all this, analyzed the data, et cetera, or the players that have already gone through it all, have now suffered the negative consequences. You know, let's put together all these opinions. But if you're on the outside looking in and you're just like, yeah, injuries and it doesn't really look good, you know, it's just like, you better be accurate though. Then you better be accurate. If you're bringing up injuries, it better be because you have legitimate data to back this up and say, hey, listen, I understand some people like Booger and this guy and that guy really like it, and, you know, the NFL players as a whole, even, you know, the you know, the union of the O-line even says, no, it's all good, let's keep it. You could be like, yeah, that's fine, they think that, but like, here's the reality. There's a 35% increase in injury risk. I understand, you know, that these guys like it and they think it's still football, but it's really in the best service of everyone to just kind of, you know, move away from this play. Like that argument would actually make 100% sense. Like, and I totally get it, because there's people that still struggle with the kickoff rule. And if you're going to tell me, like, listen, you're not really going to change the game that much. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much, but you're going to be able to significantly reduce the risk of injuries, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, yeah, fine. I'm all for it. Let's go. Who cares? Let's change it. Keep on keeping on. Let's do it. The defensive changes that they made in terms of how you can hit someone. At first, it was like the most shocking thing ever, and you're just kind of like, what the heck? This isn't football anymore. And now you're kind of like, I don't even remember what it was like before then, you know? And it's like, and in fact, if I ever watch highlights of how things were in the 80s and 90s, it's almost uncomfortable to watch, because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you could hit someone like that. You're almost kind of like, I don't want to see guys at this point being hit like that anymore, because you know what the repercussions lead to. Not to mention, you also want those guys to be able to play in the next week and the week after. Even if you're rooting for your own team and they're the ones that are causing pain, you want to see your team beat the best. You don't want to see that your team beat someone where they're kind of injured and banged up. You know, you want to see the best go up against the best. So making the game safer and all of that, I'm all for. But then this made up optics of entertainment is the other thing that just, it really drives me crazy, because, right, at the end of the day, the NFL is an entertainment league. You know, that is what it is. They're a massive entertainment company. It's why we all watch these games. It's for entertainment. Okay, that's why we're watching the NFL, because it's the most entertaining, and we're not all watching the WNBA. It's not just about sports. It's entertainment. If the WNBA was wildly entertaining, everybody would be watching it. Everybody would be tuned in. And it's just the reality of how these things work. People watch what they think is good, and they don't watch what they don't think is good. And the reality is that people are not tuning out when you're watching the Eagles do the tush push. Like, it's just not a thing. And when you see them do the tush push on their own, like 40 or something, like, you know, like that's huge. That's huge. This didn't happen for the in the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs. But you want to talk about eyes glued to the screen? If the Philadelphia Eagles are on, you know, it's 4th and 1, 4th and 2 on their own 45 against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, let's go. And you're just going to be like, this is a boring play. You're going to be like, oh my God. Eagles fans are going to be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And Chiefs fans are going to be like, come on, baby, let's stop it. Let's stop it. Like, the intensity is there. It's body on body. Like, you are glued in. This isn't, you know, a chip shot field goal. Like, I don't, people keep acting like these are just guaranteed. If you look at the stats, the tush push is like 82% success rate. And a typical QB sneak is like a 72% success rate. It's like, I could almost see where if everybody else had, you know, if a QB sneak didn't exist in the way that it did, and, you know, the closest thing that they got to that, the success rate for that was like a 30%. And the Eagles did have this one play where now it just is like so unstoppable relative to everything else. Then I could see, like, okay, like, is there a gaming of the rules, or is it because no, they have the bodies? You know, it's like, again, it would be a cheat code to have a 7-foot wide receiver who could also run as fast as, you know, like a Saquon Barkley, and who also had the hands of a Justin Jefferson. Like, that would be an ultimate cheat code. And you wouldn't say, well, some of this is not really fair. It's like, well, that's just his physical gifts, man. Like, that's just who he is. Nothing we can do about it, right? And that's more aligned with what the Eagles have. They have the bodies. They have the determination to actually make this work. They have the combination of their quarterback as well. So to kind of hold their feet to the fire, to try to pull them back, it just doesn't make sense. And like I keep saying in all of my Tush Push videos, if you want to talk about entertainment, nothing makes you want to watch football less than when you feel like you're watching bad calls. When you see a missed face mask, a player clearly offsides but no flag drawn, a pass interference call that was clearly not pass interference, and now they got the ball on the 5-yard line. You know, that is what drives people crazy. A late hit on the quarterback, roughing the passer that was not a roughing the passer, the Mahomes penalties, etc., etc. That makes you literally question, why do I watch these games? Why do I care about these games? Because if it's all just going to be thrown away because of a complete and utter missed face mask penalty that would have given them 15 yards and the first down, which would have then put the ball on the 30, and instead now you're punting or whatever it is, like, that makes you feel like I'm not even watching a fair game right now. When you watch the Tush Push, you're not like, this isn't fair. This isn't even football. This isn't even football. So this whole idea of entertainment, it's just fundamentally wrong. If you ask 1 million people, die-hard NFL fans, what makes you want to not watch a football game? What makes you want to turn the game off? What makes you angriest about your viewing experience when watching football games? I guarantee you virtually nobody in their right mind would say the Tush Push play. That's absurd. That's absurd. To this day, I still, when they're kicking an extra point or even a kickoff, you know, or even a punt return oftentimes, that's still the moment I'll kind of like get up and maybe grab some water or whatever. Like, I won't have to be glued in. It's a little bit different now because I take notes, stuff like that. But the Tush Push, I'm not getting up and leaving because I'm like, okay, yeah, they have a great chance of doing this, but I know they can also stop. I'm not leaving. This is part of the game. The other stuff feels like more extracurriculars, an extra point, you know, a kickoff. When there's a kickoff, like, again, majority of the time, nothing happens. Nothing happens, and when something big does happen, I'll go, oh wait, how'd they get the ball on the 60, on the 50? And then I'll rewind it. I'll say, oh wow, yeah, they broke that tackle, or oh, that was a bad kick, or whatever it is, and I rewind it. Never do that for the Tush Push. Not once. Not once. I'm like, oh, that's first down. I'm gonna go to the bathroom now. No, not once. I stay locked into it, and I guarantee you, so does everyone else. So it's just this whole injury and entertainment kind of two-headed nonsense monster is just that nonsense. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about this never-ending conversation about banning the Tush Push? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.